What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the channel as we got some breaking news here for our New York Mets. Right after the World Series has ended, the New York Mets got some more news today as the closer, Edwin Diaz, has opted out of his remaining 2 years, $38 million contract, as most Met fans should have expected he was going to do, as he is one of the best closers in baseball, had a really good season this year. Just makes sense that he's looking for probably another 3-4 year deal and obviously more money added to the overall contract. Now, this lets the Mets now have to deal with another possible loss, possible acquisition, possible re-signing from one of their own, as we all think Pete Alonso is going to officially opt out very soon. But Edwin Diaz is now a free agent. The New York Mets do not have a closer at this current minute. And now with Diaz opting out, the question will be, will David Stearns and the New York Mets pony up and pay Edwin Diaz with more years, more money to remain their closer? Because if not, what are they going to do? Does anybody believe they're going to bring back Ryan Helsley? Maybe they make a trade for a closer. Maybe they sign somebody else that they think they can be a closer. I don't think they can mess around too much here. As I stated in previous videos, when it comes to the priority for the New York Mets this offseason, it is ace starting pitcher number one, and 1A right under that is Edwin Diaz. The two biggest needs of this team is to remain Edwin Diaz as the closer and getting an ace of this staff. This is number one and 1A for to do list for David Stearns and the New York Mets. Diaz is so important to this team that I can't even imagine a bullpen without Edwin Diaz closing games for the New York Mets. Has nothing to do with the song, doesn't have anything to do with, him getting all hyped up with the trumpets and all that stuff. Nothing to do with that. When Diaz comes into the game, I have all the confidence in the world that he's going to get the job done. The problem with the New York Mets this year is that there was times when you would go 2 weeks without seeing Edwin Diaz close the game for the New York Mets. Either the Mets starter blew a lead or the bullpen blew a lead to bridge the gap to Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz is needed on this team. Nobody can kind of convince me that anybody else stepping in would make any sense at this point. The Mets have a ton of work to do this offseason. They got to revamp this starting rotation, and they need an ace, maybe even a back-end rotation guy that they can get innings from. They don't have a first baseman at this current moment. Who knows who the second baseman is? Who's the third baseman? Who's the center fielder? They need a whole bullpen to come together. There's too many things that they need to do. And the easiest thing to not worry about is negotiating with Edwin Diaz as quickly as possible and getting that deal done. Once you get the closer, you can work around everything else you need to do when it comes to the bullpen. But the priority needs to be ace pitcher. The other priority, 1A, is Edwin Diaz. And unfortunately, the development of the trade market for starting pitching, top-level starting pitching, is not going to happen over the next couple of weeks. It's just not. I would be shocked if any big-time ace starting pitcher gets traded prior, or at least sometime around December or late November, around Thanksgiving time. So we all have to understand that what is the priority for the Mets, what is needed for the Mets, and the Mets have too much to worry about. I don't want David Stearns to have more on his plate because I don't trust him, Mets fans. Some might trust him. I don't. I don't trust him making a trade for an ace, even though he should do that. I don't believe that he probably wants to pay Edwin Diaz the years and the money it's going to take to keep him around. Same reason why I don't believe he's going to pay anywhere near the money in years that Pete Alonso is going to want to remain a New York Met. So is this a very questionable offseason for David Stearns? I'm going to wait. I'm on this wait and see approach, Mets fans. I really am. There's a wait and see approach with David Stearns. I don't trust him. I just don't. If you tell me he's going to make a trade for a top ace, I'd be like, oh, okay. But I'd probably be shocked. This guy, indecisions for the first 2 years of running his team is why the Mets are in this place in the first place. With all the 1-year deals that he put in his bullpen, and now every year you're basically going to have to revamp your bullpen every year because you don't give a 2-year deal, 3-year deal, 1 year, 2-year deals, multi-year deals to bullpen arms. So every year it's a revolving door of relievers. That's a dangerous game to play. And too many people act like David Stearns has won before. He's won nothing. He was in a small market team that failed in the playoffs every single year they made it. Now, we can have a lot of problems if we make the playoffs every year, but that will get stale at some point as Met fans if you make the playoffs every year and continue to fail and don't get at the promised land, which is a World Series. I don't know if David Stearns is the guy to lead us to that, but we don't have a choice. Steve Cohen loves David Stearns. We all know that. He was coveting him before he was even available from the Brewers. But when it comes to Edwin Diaz and him opting out with his remaining 2 years, $38 million, he's probably looking for a 4-year deal. Might get 3, but there might be somebody desperate that think they're a closer away that will give him that 4th year. Met fans, do you really believe David Stearns is going to go 3 or 4 years, $25, $26, $27 million per year for Edwin Diaz to bring him back? I don't know, Mets fans, and I think it would be a huge mistake not bringing back Edwin Diaz. Yeah, you might get somebody in here who might be really good. Maybe that could be a possibility. But can David Stearns do what he needs to do to put a competent team that has stars in this lineup and work around those stars for a dominant, making the playoffs every year type of team? But you know what? I don't care about 2027. I care about this year, 2026. Edwin Diaz is one of the pieces that are going to fit in this puzzle to get us to where we need to go. This is where David Stearns will start off on a good, positive note starting this offseason. If you let Edwin Diaz officially start speaking to teams when it comes to numbers and years, that's when you could lose him. David Stearns can shock the world, can shock me, can shock Met fans, and get the Edwin Diaz deal done as soon as possible. That is where I might have some confidence spilling out of me for David Stearns. I just don't know what he's thinking. And if any Met fan thinks he has a really good plan, you're nuts. I don't think he has one, at least not a good one. I don't see what plan that he developed or he put together that has worked. His first year, didn't he acquire or basically get the team that he already had coming in his first year? But will he surprise us all, Mets fans, and do what he didn't do in year 1 and year 2? Will he make that big trade that he's yet to make in the offseason? Will he make a big trade for what we might need at the trade deadline? But when it comes to this offseason, will he do the right thing in signing Edwin Diaz back and making sure you got a closer? And that's a start of a very good bullpen. One of the best closers in the game does not need to be wearing another uniform. He has to be wearing a Mets uniform. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of Edwin Diaz opting out of his remaining 2 years, $38 million contract. Do you believe that David Stearns is going to re-sign Edwin Diaz to a 3-4 year deal? Do you think he will actually do it? Yes or no, guys? I want to thank you guys for watching. And as always, Met fans, let's go Mets.